Now, I think Darren Till chins Carl Froch.
Before we watch the video, we just wanted to ask you a massive favour.
We just wanted to ask you if you could please take a minute to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and also check out our TikTok for short content and daily updates.
We really want to keep growing the Boxing 365 community and keep making content like this for yourselves, the boxing fan.
And most of all, thank you and enjoy the video.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Boxing 365 in what's going to be a special edition, a special episode, where we're going to talk about something that's massively popular at the minute, and that is the influencer boxing. So we have done a video previously on the Misfits card that was coming up at the time, which was the Till Rockhold card, where we alluded to the fact that we would talk about this, and we have mentioned it on a couple of the posts on TikTok that we would talk about it. So that's what we're going to do. Obviously, it's ever changing, so we probably will revisit it at some point. It'll have to be a quarterly video, I think. I think as it develops, gets better or worse, worse, normally worse. Yep, but we will see. And we thought we'd start off by talking about the origins of influencer boxing, where it started, and how it's come on from there. I know, yeah. When the birth of the baby of the devil. Who is to blame for this is what we should say. KSI is still to blame. And I like KSI. Yeah. I like KSI, but he is to blame. Him and his mate, Logan Paul, whose brother then decided... Well, you've missed a step. Yeah, I know, Joe Weller. Because it was technically... And Joe Weller liked to remind a couple of people of that on occasion, hasn't he? He has, yeah. It was originally KSI versus Joe Weller. It was a head guard bout, which we'll talk about at some point regarding things like head guards. Yeah, it started there. They were mentioned earlier when we discussed this. There was a couple of fights where sort of Rio Ferdinand decided he was a boxer. Yeah. Andrew Flintoff had a try, but it never really kicked off. The real kick-off was the Weller KSI beef. Yeah. Which then became this massive event. Matchroom actually got involved. So Matchroom's only ever influencer event was actually KSI. Logan Paul won, I think. Huge event, and it's just gone from there. It's gone mad, hasn't it? Yeah, it has, and I sort of think it makes sense that they were going to be the people that would take it off because they're massive. They got loads of subscribers. Oh, huge. A bit like us, loads of subscribers. Yeah, I think they've got a few more, but like there's not a lot in it. Not a lot in it. It's marginal. And you know, they're these big characters, lots of following, and they managed to pull it together. And credit to them, we did say, credit to them for going about it the proper way and trying to set it up correctly. But from there, we've had KSI fighting multiple fights, not really, some not so reputable. And he's really been the driving force, hasn't he? Him and Jake. Him from the Misfit side and Jake from the MVP side. Yeah. I would say MVP actually, as much as we're not fans of Jake Paul, and I'm not a fan of Jake Paul. They have become boxing promoters. They have become boxing promoters. Yeah. They have got actual boxers in their stable and look to push people through. So the thing for me, and this is where we spoke about it before, is I don't have an issue with people stepping in the boxing ring. We got some jib for my comments regarding Dylan Dennis. Yeah. I have got no issues. I've got nothing but respect for Dylan Dennis wanting to get in the boxing ring. My issue with influencer boxing is safety, first and foremost, because the reason the British Boxing Board of Control don't look after these and license these bouts is because they wouldn't. They just point blank refuse. The other is the disrespect. For me, boxing has a massive history. Yeah, and we as a sport, we've had our idiots. It exists in all sports. We've had our characters. We've had a multitude of things over the years, and not all good, not all bad. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but the influencer boxing scene took what is a phenomenal sport, and in a lot of cases turned it into a bit of a circus. And for me, disrespected the sport. I don't mind them being their own thing, and I think as an event, and I think what Misfits do, I think they host brilliant events and they reach out to an audience of people that absolutely love it. Yeah. But Soccer Aid, for example, right? Soccer Aid's a brilliant thing for a good cause. And I'm not saying that Misfits should give all their money to charity, but Soccer Aid don't disrespect football. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And for me, that's where we just have to understand that line. But I almost think, though, that is so soccer aid is about going out there and doing a good thing, and
Yeah, yeah.
none of those people go out there and pretend to be professional football players. And
There's a very occasional few.
maybe
Is
the
it Chris
odd,
MD? Who seems
maybe
to
the
think,
odd one.
Yeah, yeah.
But the difference there being that people who are in the influencer boxing scene,
I'd agree,
talk a lot about how they could be this person, they could be that person, and they want to do this, want to do that. And I think that just a little bit makes a bit of a mockery of boxing, which is one of the points that's a bit of a concern, really,
Yeah.
isn't it? But they pay out massive money, they do massive shows. Like you say, and one of the things I would say is that from the ones that we have watched, because more curiosity and
Yeah, it gets you.
boxing
It gets you.
fans,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
do watch occasionally. At the start, it was bad. The events were bad.
Yeah.
The fights were bad.
Very bad.
Now they are getting into an era of
the levels
the
increased.
events are good.
Yeah.
And some of the fights are getting better. And especially some of the talent that they had, the influencer talent that they started out with, are actually developing into decent boxers.
I think they've got, and again, this is a positive thing, and this is a compliment, but you know, there's Mams Taylor, KSI, and the Sauer brothers, Wassman Boxing, who run the show for Misfits. Yeah. And look, I think the best thing that happened for the Misfits scene was getting Nissa and Carla involved, because
they do know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. They're respected. They've been doing this a long time. And then you've got KSI's sort of creativeness, that connection with the social media and all that type of stuff. And they're doing a good job of it. And like I say, I've got no issues with that. And I can't blame them. And on the basis of money. And you can't blame them, but it does obviously annoys me a little bit. We get boxers who maybe go on a bit of a run. One at the minute is what's his name? It'll come to me later, but Fran Hennessy's beat Mick Hennessy's son. What's his name? Michael Hennessy Jr., yeah. Joe, something or other. But either way, not a brilliant record.
Yep.
Bit of a stepping stone fight in and around English level. But again, he's said, I'm going over to Misfits. And you can't blame him, because why get paid 15 grand for a real fight when you can get paid 150 grand for what is a... But the risk of that is Sean Hemphill did it, coming off of the fight against Mark Jeffers.
Yeah.
Beat Mark Jeffers, looked brilliant. Absolutely 100% beat Ty Mitchell. But didn't get the decision.
Yeah.
Because it's not regulated, it's not licensed by the right people. The referees aren't referees. These referees have no licensing. You name me a Misfits event where they go, and the referee this evening is A-star referee. No, they don't. The referee this evening is fucking Colonel Sanders from KFC. Like, it's that for me is where where the separation has to come for me.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, like I say, we think that the events have improved. As a whole, I would say that the fact that they're bringing a lot of eyes to boxing, and a lot of people who maybe wouldn't really be interested are interested. And if there was some way of incorporating actual boxing and professional boxing to a point where you could bring people over from that scene to professional boxing scene, it's only going to do good things for grassroots boxing and for small hall shows and things like that, where people will be intrigued and go to watch them. But it's just whether pros outweigh the cons.
And this is the sort of the talking point. So the thing is with influencer boxing and the events, there's a lot of learnings that us as boxing fans can take. There's a lot of learnings that the promoters can take, and there's a lot of way that they host the events that actually, do you know what, works really well. And what I mean by that is we go to a lot of events, and we are one of the first people there every time, without a shadow of a doubt. First through the door, sat down at a seat, and we generally speaking will sit there and watch every single fight. I say generally, we do. And we see 2-3 fights from the top of the bill when the arena's empty.
Yeah.
These events, people are there from the start, they're invested in every single fight, and that's brilliant. Certain promoters are better at others than doing that, you know. But there are some learnings there, and there are some things we can take from
things we could pinch.
And
absolutely.
You're not going to lose any fans of boxing through the influencer scene.
No.
None of the real boxing fans, the hardcore boxing fans, even the casuals of real boxing, they're not going to go, do you know what, I'm not watching boxing anymore. It's a farce. Jake Paul's involved, because
Jake Paul's not involved.
We know it's a separate world still. But what it will do is, like you say, is them kids who go, God, I want to be a boxer. I'll go down to a boxing gym, and 20 will go. One will probably stick it out for a bit, whatever. But but you're getting kids in gyms, you're doing something productive, and that side of it is a massive pro, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But on the same side of that, we're promoting boxing, so they're going to, I want to be a boxer. So then we're putting John Fury in a fucking cage.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what are we doing? Like, he's in a cage headbutting Perspex glass because Tommy Fury's fighting. Who did he even fight? KSI?
KSI.
When they did the star jumping shit thing, it was like, mate, like,
that's one of the cons, isn't it? It's the antics and the sort of clowning of boxing. We've got Dylan Dennis, who, as we said, fortunately, actually, as one of the viewers pointed out to us, his fight most recently
MMA.
was actually MMA, which actually is quite a good thing that they've taken it and gone, his boxing's not his thing, but he sells tickets. And you can see that that's a business decision. But if he went in again, like he did against Logan Paul, and starts trying to put him in an armbar and take him down in a boxing match, that's making a mockery of the sport, and that's not doing good things for pro boxing or influence.
But this is where Misfits let themselves down a little bit. And again, I'm trying to look at both sides. But right, with the Dylan Dennis thing, they've gone, look, he's an MMA star, an MMA fighter. I wouldn't say he's a star, but let's let him fight MMA. No problem at all. Got no issues with that. But they've put him in there with someone who's a very, 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 very low level boxer with no MMA experience against a guy who is a world champion Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter who we saw what happened. We've seen the highlight. It was an instantaneous takedown, done, tap, move on with our lives. And thankfully nothing happened. But do you know if that guy had a bit more of a bigger pair of balls on it and went out fucking tapping, broken arms, could have perforated his lungs, could have broke his ribs, could have choked him out.
Really
Could have been really dangerous because this guy's never spent any real time in MMA, and that's where they let themselves down.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's the concern, isn't it? I know you said about safety, and we've seen Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul, and it's and people say, oh, it's not dangerous, blah blah blah, but it is dangerous. Boxing is dangerous. It's proven many a time how dangerous it is.
4 weeks ago when we did our first ever episode,
Yeah,
that week we had two guys on the same bill that were experienced enough pros.
Yeah,
both get bleed on the brain, comatose, dead.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry to be blunt with it, but boxing does save lives, and I've said it in joking and I've said it in jest, right? And it saves people's lives because it is a phenomenal outlet for people that are in awful situations, and we see it all the time.
Yeah.
But boxing, you don't play it.
No, and the problem with that is you've got things like age, Mike Tyson. You've got things like weight, where we're looking at Jake Paul fighting Gervonta Davis, which is just bizarre. But all of this, when it goes, I'll say when.
It will.
I absolutely hope it doesn't go wrong. Touch wood, it doesn't go wrong.
It will.
But if it does,
which it will,
the only loser will be boxing.
Yeah, agreed.
Because the people will still want to see the massive events, but the headlines won't be about influence boxing. It'll be about boxing.
And the problem you've got is at the minute, everyone goes, their impact, the eyes they bring to sport are brilliant, right? Boxers die. We know they die. They die on shows. We've watched shows where people have had life-changing injuries. It happens, and it's horrible to see. We never like seeing it. And to be fair, we're one of the few. And I think, do you know when a referee waves off a fight, and you know that kind of line where you go, oh, maybe a bit early.
Yeah.
But we always go, do you know what? We were getting beat up here. It weren't pretty.
Yeah.
The realism was there was no way he was going to realistically win this fight.
Yeah, they've got a duty of care to the fighters, as does the corner. We've said the same about corners pulling out
Ben
fighters.
Davidson throwing in the towel with Lee Wood was a big one for me.
But at the time, the emotion runs high.
I was fuming. I wanted to kick Ben Davidson's head in. But shave your fucking head, Ben.
But then, you stop and you realise.
You reflect.
Yeah, no, that was the right thing, because if he'd have stayed in there, it could have been a lot worse.
And this for me, and that what I was kind of getting at was that with that, is that if someone in a boxing ring dies, the publicity of it isn't as big, because yes, it's horrible and the boxing world knows, but the boxing world knows.
Yeah.
Do you know on that first occasion that I'll use Sol Pappy and Tony Ferguson, right? Tony Ferguson, probably, to be fair, it was probably an early stoppage from what I've seen, but Tony Ferguson is a fighting man.
Yeah.
He is a career fighter in multiple disciplines, and he's an hard fucker. You wouldn't, like we said, you wouldn't want to meet Tony Ferguson in a fucking dark alley, would you?
No.
Now you've put him in there with Sol Pappy, who is, in all fairness, when we've discussed about the improvements, actually one of the
He was always one of the better, but he has improved massively.
And he has improved, yeah. But he ain't a fighter. He's not licensed. Yes, he trains, and yes, he looks all right now. And look, end of the day, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But if on the off chance Tony Ferguson landed the biggest shot of his career, and it put Salt Pappy in a coma or something horrific happened, and like you say, touch wood it won't, but we've got to understand this, and as part of a debate, we've got to touch all the subjects. And Salt Pappy passed away. Salt Pappy dies. Yeah. That the whole world then goes.
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson killed Salt Pappy.
Yeah.
No one in boxing. Why are we letting this go on? Why is Tony Ferguson the killer in a ring with a guy who makes YouTube videos?
Yeah.
And that, for me, and there's things to do, and we can discuss that.
I will say, flip side of this is that I have seen, and I do think that referees, obviously in pro boxing they are anyway, but I do think referees are even more conscious in the Misfits. I believe they have more tighter rules,
standing
counts, that sort of thing. So they have got a provision in place, but it's just that things do happen. So that's not necessarily going to be enough. And if it isn't enough, like say if something horrific does happen, it does feel like it's going to come crashing down on boxing, and all the good work for all the good they have done, it'll all be for nothing.
And look, I'm not saying that we dull it up and we fluff it up and make it boring, right? But so I'll come to a point at the end of this, but like the Darren Till Carl Froch thing, right? That's being talked about.
Yeah.
Now I'm not against that fight. Carl Froch is an ex-pro.
Yeah.
He's 49. He has been retired for 11 or 12 years, so I don't think he should come back. But Carl Froch is a professional fighting man who is still in good shape, not like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's a grandfather with back problems. Carl Froch is in good shape.
Yeah.
Still trains, still spars, still looks after himself. If he decides I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a Misfits bout with Darren Till for £5 million, even though I don't think he should, I have no issues with that fight.
Yeah.
Now, I think Darren Till chins Carl Froch. Right. Now, for me, that, for example, don't need head guards, you don't need any protection. They're both, one is actually quite a capable boxer as far as Misfit sort of scene goes. Yeah. One's an ex-world champion who's, past it, but he knows what he's doing. When people like Salt Pappy and Tony Ferguson and the people when we've had like the tag team stuff.
Yeah.
And you see some of them and they're getting absolute pants to bite in a corner. You want like amateurs step in a ring without a head guard.
Yeah.
These guys are less capable than amateurs. I appreciate head guards make it a bit more boring. Like, these guys aren't fighters. Yeah. These guys aren't pros. These guys have spent, some of them, 5-6 weeks in a gym trying to learn. But what can you learn in a gym?
I do agree. I think that kind of brings us nicely to one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which was it isn't going away.
No, absolutely not.
There's too much money in it. It's too well established now that I think even if something terrible did happen, it would continue. And so, what would you change?
I think any fighters that are not at least established in the Misfits scene, I think should be head guards and bigger gloves.
Protect the fighters a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. From rumours, there's not a great deal of UCAD. There's not a lot of VARDA testing, things like that.
Which just makes things more dangerous.
Which makes things more dangerous. I think when we're matching up fighters against YouTubers, proper fighters against YouTubers, I think that needs to be looked at from a safety point of view. I think we need to understand the capability of the fighters you're putting them in with and try and maybe spend a bit more time with that. There's been a hell of a lot of talk about match fixing or fight fixing or result fixing, however you want to do it. I think that needs to be sort of regulated. I think we need to understand that. There's loads and loads and loads of change in regards to a safety point of view. But I appreciate that they're probably not going to because it makes it less interesting. I just hope that they put enough provisions in place that we don't go and lose someone who went in there going, the money's too good for me to turn down. Yeah, fuck it, I'll have a go.
Yeah.
And then
something terrible happens. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're probably right on what we should change. We said earlier that there's things we could take from it, perhaps some of the event management and things like that. But to be honest, boxing is.
So
I think I
old-fashioned.
don't think we need that much more to it. I know when Saudi and Riyadh came and changed things up a bit, made the events a bit showy. I know we weren't fans of it, and they never did it again.
They trimmed it down, haven't they? They've
Yeah.
tied it up again, yeah.
So I don't think we necessarily need that. I think it's hard to say what fights we want to see, particularly. It sounds like this Carl Froch Darren Till fight's probably going to happen, and like you say, it's one of the ones that I'd be less averse to.
I wouldn't be against that. I'd actually watch it because I really like Carl Froch. I also really like Darren Till. I think he's quite a character. I think he's funny.
Yeah.
And to be honest, yeah, he'd bring eyeballs, but
yeah,
I think Darren Till's a 32-year-old man, peak of his career, in a good run of form. Clearly possesses power. Carl Froch, let's be honest, is not going to be very quick at 49. He wasn't particularly agile when he was a pro.
Yeah.
He's going to get hit. He's 49 years old.
Could be the
left, right, good night. Left, right, good night. Yeah. But,
yeah. Well, anyway, I think we've probably covered enough for this one video.
Jake Paul's a dick.
If we think that there's particularly any worthwhile Misfits cards coming up, of course we'll do a next card in the deck for that. And if there's anything that yourselves would actually like to hear us talk about, or anything that you want to give your opinion on that you'd like us to speak to, then by all means let us know in the comments, and we'll keep looking to churn out stuff like this.
Yeah, and do you know what? What we will do, we've not discussed it, but we sort of touched on it at the start, is put in your comments of this video and across the TikToks from the shorts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Put what you'd like us to do a video on, and we will pick one at random. For whatever, out of all the comments, we'll pick one at random, and we'll do a topic on your guys' suggestions, because I think that A, gives us some ideas and saves us just thinking of it all, but also B, gets you guys involved. And for whoever does comment, we may even get them a little bit involved, we may even get them to ask a few questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for now, that'll wrap that up, and we will see you all on the next video.